What's up guys, my name is Dark Wispy, and for today's video I just have a short little bit of discussion on the hand trap meta in Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2024. Now a lot of people have been complaining about all of the non-engine that have been going into the different sorts of decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, if you look at the top lists recently, I mean that's anywhere from 12 to 18 hand traps, sometimes 20 non-engine cards, right? So your opponent's just getting interrupted with all sorts of cards from your hand, right? It's absolutely ridiculous, because what happens is, you know, like take Voiceless Voice for example, they just play a bunch of one-card starters and then a bunch of hand traps, and it seems unfun to play against, right? People keep complaining about it. But the reality is that without hand traps, Yu-Gi-Oh! Would be a significantly less fun game. And you know why? Because we have turn skip cards, right? This is a great example in Fluandries. I mean, you know what Fluandries does if you don't interrupt that deck? If you don't ash it or imperm it or at least do something, it just turn skips you, right? It makes an Omni-Negate Miss Valley. It tributes your cards like Kaijus. It can tribute your back row. And then you're just going to lose. It's not very fun to play against. It's literally a blowout. Same thing with Centurion, right? This is just a turn skip card, right? You don't hand trap that deck, you get turn skipped. You have to play hand traps. Voiceless, same thing. They're just turbo making an Omni Negate. If you let them set up their whole entire board, it's disgusting. Branded, oh my goodness. Yes, if they get to do what they want to do, they're going to gimmick puppet lock you, right? Not to mention they're going to have, you know, their main phase 3 where they get all sorts of recursion. The deck's absolutely crazy, has ridiculous amount of gas, and it has a turn skip in it. You have to hand trap it or else you lose, right? Towers, unless you're playing Kaiju and we're in a board break format, right? Towers are super annoying. Don't let your opponent make them. What's fair about this? It's unaffected. It's unaffected, right? That's pretty ridiculous. You have to hand trap them. Don't let them do it. Oh, Snake Eyes Fire King / just pure Snake Eyes, right? This is the reason why hand traps are better than board breakers right now, because you don't want to have them even get the chance to make this card. Because you can board break them all day, but if they have this engraved, they have resources engraved. That's the thing. There's the graveyard, there's your hand, and there's the field. And while a board breaker can shut down the field, hand traps can shut down the graveyard and the field. Labyrinth. Huh. If you don't do anything to Labyrinth, they debarrier you, they erad you, right? Like, also both turn skip cards. I mean, you can just hard draw this. This is sided in just about every single deck right now. This is just a hard L against some decks, and it's searchable in Lab. You got to do something about that. You hand trap them. You bell them. Bell the big welcome. Imperm the lady if they don't have a card set. Ash the welcome. Whatever it might be, right? Okay, Trident Dragon. It's an OTK card, right? You hand trap Tenpai or you lose. You literally just lose. You have to hand trap them, right? Same thing. Shifter. I mean, Shifter is sort of a hand trap, but it's also a turn skip, right? Like, if your opponent shifters you and then makes a fat board and you don't interrupt them at all with hand traps, you're probably going to lose if you play a graveyard-reliant deck, right? And last but not least is the greatest example of all of this. It's the reason that Droll's in the format, right? The only people who were complaining about Droll when Dark World was out was Dark World players, right? Everybody else was like, oh, Droll is so necessary. It has to check the deck. You know, the deck's going to rip all the cards out of your hand, man. It's just a balancing act. Every other hand trap's the same exact way. This is just a very, very linear example. People seem to overlook this too. It's the exact same thing with every other hand trap in the game. It's to stop your opponent from doing unfair bullshit, because that's what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is nowadays. It's a bunch of unfair bullshit turn skips, and hand traps are the only way to counter it. So stop complaining about a hand trap format. If you want to see a different game, ask Konami to get rid of these turn skips, get rid of these cards that just make it so where you can't even play the game, right? And then, or get rid of one-card starters that allow them to make these cards so consistently and allow people to get so many of these non-ending cards in here. Hand traps are absolutely a necessary evil in Yu-Gi-Oh! Stop complaining about them.